What's up, guys? I'm back with another review. This is Rob with Animus Visual Reviews. Today I have a really special surprise in store for you guys. I personally have been waiting a long time to get my hands on this here monitor. I don't want to get too far into it because I'm super excited. I'm going to go through literally almost every single feature I can think of on this monitor because I think it's literally that good. I flew all the way to Vegas to NAB just to meet the crew behind Portkeys, and I was able to sweet talk into getting this baby right here in advance so I can do a review for you guys. So I'm super excited. Let's get into it. All right, guys, I just want to jump right into this. This right here is the Portkeys BM7 II DS. Try saying that 3 times fast. I mean, honestly, look at this beautiful piece of art. This is like, I mean, literally, I was like a kid on Christmas getting this monitor. It's absolutely incredible, top-notch, feels so solid in the hand, and it's got so many features. So I want to start with the basic information about this monitor before we get going into the details and talking about all the features that it has. To start off with, like I mentioned, this is a 7-inch monitor, so I was actually worried that it would look kind of goofy and be too much for the KOMODO or KOMODO X. And to be honest, it feels like it fits right in. Pretty happy about that. It is fully aluminum built. It is tempered glass on the front, which is supposed to be even more durable than the last version, being the BM5 WR. The monitor is 10-bit, which still is 8+2 FRC. The monitor has a maximum 2200 nits, which means it's super bright and it's easily viewable in daylight without having to cover it up. This monitor is red approved, which is badass. So if you're running a DSMC3 body like a V-Raptor, KOMODO X, it is red approved, so that is very good news. It has 100% Rec 709 coverage and 85% DCI-P3 coverage, which means the color rendition is super good. It is also factory color calibrated, which means your color should match right out of the box. As far as base features, it does take 1 or 2 NPF batteries, and it does have a few different power options, which we'll go into right now. All right, so I was gonna do an unbox, but really it doesn't come with a whole ton of stuff. But what it does come with is a D-tap 2 locking barrel connector. It's 12 volt, so you'll be able to power using a V-mount to a locking connector to make sure it doesn't come off. This is one of the 3 ways that you can power this monitor. Also, it comes with this, which is a tiny micro USB. What can you use this for? So number one, you can actually load LUTs into this and load them into the monitor, so that way you can have LUT access for each of the cameras that you own if you want to do like a log conversion to Rec 709. Also, as a feature that you can do a screenshot and then do a screen match later on at a different time where you can actually get to match exactly what shot you took using the monitor with a JPEG saved onto this drive. So we'll test that out and I'll show you how that works. And that is it. It comes in a hard shell case, which I guess I'll show you. Per usual Portkeys fashion, this is the hard shell case it comes with, a bunch of clasps. And what's in the box? My old BM5 WR is in here, which I still love very dearly, as well as a 2-pin LEMO cable, which I plan to get for this monitor as far as powering. Very simple packaging. Again, not a whole ton of accessories that it comes with, but we'll go into all the details now. All right, so looking at the top here, you have your function buttons 1 through 4, which you can use to program any of the number of tools that the monitor has for quick access. Here you have a 1/4 inch with anti-rotational pin areas here, so you can keep things from rotating. They have one at the top and at the bottom, obviously. And of course you have an exit button for the menu. This is your menu wheel. It also is clickable, so that way you can do your selections using the menu wheel and exit the menu using the exit button. On the side, you will see that it has the power button. It's just a slide on and off switch. It also has the USB input slot here, so you can put in the small USB that it comes with. And then lastly here, you'll have your headphone jack to be able to listen to your audio that's coming from your camera. Down here is just the labels for the motor control, which is on the back, as well as your inputs for power. On the bottom, it's just 1 slot for camera control. This is what you'll use for wired camera control for many of the cameras. I believe Sony and Panasonic camera control that plugs into the bottom of the monitor here. Moving on to the back. First order of business, I'll start with the fact that it has battery operation with MPF batteries. I believe it's literally just a friction mount as far as the batteries going in. There's no separate latch or switch to kind of disengage the batteries. There is a small rubber pad on the backside here that just basically makes friction contact with the battery. Not sure how I feel about that. That's probably the first time that I have seen an MPF battery without a latch for security. However, I've kind of already played with this a good amount of time. I mean, even with these big heavy batteries, it hasn't come out, so I don't foresee it really being a problem. It's just new to me. You also have your antenna, which I love this new design that they did with the antenna. The antenna still plugged in, but it is kind of tucked into the body. With the BM5WR, the antenna is kind of pointing outwards, so you always kind of had the nub sticking out, or I'd have to remove it if I had to pack the monitor up. Now the antenna kind of sits flush. Obviously, for better reception, you'd probably want to lift it, but in general, you'd probably keep it that way and it'd be fine. Moving on down here, you have your motor control port, which is actually where I have my red wired control hooked into. This is a 5-pin to 4-pin connection into this little box. This box goes into my EXT port on the KOMODO, as well as NUCLEUS M through wired control. Down below that, you have the locking 12-volt barrel connector, and then below that you have one more way to power. This is the third way of powering the monitor via 2-pin LEMO. So again, plenty of ways to power it. All of these are a little more industry standard and easier to source, especially the barrel connector. Atomos has pretty much the exact same plug, so easier to find if you need to. On this side, you'll find that it has one SDI output, as well as not just one, but 2 SDI inputs. The reason this is super cool is because this monitor does feature picture by picture, which means you can view 2 different inputs at once. I'll display how that works a little bit later. Likewise, you have HDMI in and HDMI out. All these ports do cross convert, meaning if you have any inputs in SDI in 1 or 2, you'll be able to output it through HDMI, and vice versa. If you have an HDMI input, you'll be able to output it through SDI out. All right, on your screen here, you'll see my buddy Zach helping me film. Thanks, buddy. So I wanted to go basically into how this monitor kind of operates as far as the OS. In essence, you touch and you'll get the menu pop up here. Navigation is, I mean, fairly simple once you understand it. It's basically swiping left to right will give you different menus. Swiping upwards will bring up the focus menu. So this is where you would control your NUCLEUS Nano or your NUCLEUS M. Swiping up again will bring you into the camera controls. As you can see here at the bottom, there's like an extra dot basically showing that there's more to this menu. So if you swipe on that menu, you'll get to the second page of that specific menu. Likewise, more buttons will open up depending on which option you've selected to do different things. So once again, you'll swipe left. If you tap the screen, the menu will go away. If you tap the screen again, it will open up. Starting from the top, you have here your basically your brightness, contrast, chroma, sharpness, tint options. Again, you have an extra menu here. Swipe and you can adjust your backlight, which is where you actually adjust your real brightness, not in the brightness section. So this is where you would adjust how bright your monitor is, especially when you need to compensate for daylight. Your color temperature, this was set to 6500, so I've left it the same way. Also of note, which is super cool, here's you have your anamorphic options for de-squeeze. So these are all the options: 1.5, 1.6, 1.66, 1.85, 2, 2.35, and then you can have a custom one, which is super awesome because you can actually set the exact amount of de-squeeze that you would want. Okay, down here is where you select your input. There are input selections, obviously, depending on which one you're plugging in your camera to. You have SDI 1, 2, and of course your HDMI. Likewise, your output. This is basically where you can choose what you want to output. You got your LUT that you can send downstream, or you can send the raw signal. Same with converting 1080p to 1080i. Not really like super needed nowadays, but that is an option. Levels, same thing, but basically if you just hit display sync, all that's set for you. Down at this one, it's just basically display flip mode. So it has horizontal, vertical flip, what have you. So if you needed to mount this monitor upside down for whatever reason, you can flip it. Same with reversing the image left to right. Moving on to the settings, this is where the base settings of the monitor are. You can reset the entire monitor using system reset. There are some languages here you can select: Chinese, Japanese, Russian, French, Spanish. Fan settings, so it does have a fan setting. It does get super loud in 9 or 10. Pretty sure you can hear that. So I'm leaving it at 3. It's not super distracting. However, if you're outside in the dead of summer, especially here in Florida, as screaming hot, you may have to turn this up a good bit, and it could mess with your audio. So if you're running on-camera audio, just keep that in mind. Likewise, you can turn on battery voltage, which you can see right up here. I have it on because I like to see how much power the MPF is when I'm powering it that way. And then of course you got your display gamut, which you can set. Rec 709 will give you Rec 709, P3 obviously, DCI, and D65. So that affects the entire monitor itself, not just the image that you have from your camera. Just keep that in mind. Okay, on this last one is where you can load 3D LUTs. I haven't loaded anything on here. I'm just gonna go ahead and insert the USB here. Boom. Okay, so if you turn on 3D LUT, I mean, nothing's gonna happen right now since I don't have anything set. If you click USB looks, it will search the USB drive for any LUTs that are on there. It does come with some preloaded LUTs here, as you can see. Rec 709 LUTs, and then if you use this top bar and swipe, you'll be able to access the last two. Has Sony, Zcam, Fujifilm, Nikon, Panasonic, and you can do your selection. I'll just do one for fun right now. We'll do Blackmagic Design, and as you can see here, it's loading. So I'll go to return, and return all the way back to the menu, close it out. So I selected the Blackmagic Design LUT. As you can see, it's already applied. When you come into this menu here, you can go to stored from USB, and there is an internal storage with the LUTs that you've selected. I'm not sure exactly how many you can hold, but you would see them here, and you don't need to have the USB inserted this whole time. Likewise, you can reset the LUT, which you can do here, and then that will remove the LUT here. There's no more stored LUTs here after I hit reset LUT. So just one more thing you can do there. Then here's your volume settings. This is not the volume of your fan. This is the volume for your audio that's coming out of the headphones. Lastly, you have your firmware information, runtime, and you can run a firmware update through USB. Right now there's no update file, obviously. I don't think there's any firmware out for this, but this is the menu setting for that. Moving on to the menus. This is basically your main menu for tools. It's fairly simple again once you get used to it. So basically when you click the tool, it turns it on. When you click it again, it turns it off. So for example, like here's zebras, you can turn it on and off just by tapping. It also could go through the settings that it has when you turn it on and off. So basically the way this works is once you select a tool, you'll be able to access the settings for said tool, usually here at the bottom using the settings. So as you can see now, as I change my tool, the different settings show up on the bottom that you have for the tool. This screen does have a 3D LUT, for example, and you can actually select the tool and quickly adjust based on the 3D LUT you selected on a previous screen, for example. And you can set any number of these tools to your quick function 1, 2, 3, 4s. So if I click function 1, for example, is my peaking. Function 2 right now is my zebra, as you can tell underneath this. If I need to turn off the tools, I can click back, select it. Now the tool's off, zebra's off. I can turn off the LUT, turn off HDR, turn off this, turn that off, and then turn off the waveforms. So I'll go through each one of the tools so you know what's available. Number one, we have peaking right here. It has every style color basically that you can think of. I mean, this is probably one of the more useful ones to me. Color, you have whatever color out of these four: white, red, green, blue, and then of course your sensitivity that you can set if you need to be able to see it a little bit better. Grayscale, so it'll set everything to grayscale and then leave your color behind for the peaking. And then lastly, the color with edge enhance, which I personally like because it really just heightens whatever's sharpened. Same with the sensitivity, you kind of just want to customize that. And then likewise, you can turn it off and on here, or you can just click it on and off in the menu. Next one down, we have your zebras. So this you can customize the IRE of when the zebra starts showing up. So if we were to drop this low enough, it'll show you exactly when the zebra starts showing up. You also have high area options, low area options, so you can customize which area of zebras in high, medium, and low, and when they start showing up, as well as which color each area ends up showing up in. You can also disable individual areas. So if you only want to see the high area option, you basically select, if you reach the IRE that you've set here, it'll show up. Obviously I don't have anything reaching 100 IRE right now since I turned the f-stop down, but as you can see, bringing it low enough, you'll get whatever color you want for that section that you've set. Again, to turn it off, hit the button here, or you can hit the quick button here on the actual item. Next one up is the false color. It has a couple different styles, user and RA. And then for the user one, you can actually select or customize this to a degree and show exactly when you want to be warned as far as like your over and under exposure. Customize basically the color that shows up whenever you hit the certain IRE level. And as you can see, you can have multiple tools on at once, so not a problem there either. Alright, so moving on, we have the waveforms here, which there's a couple different options. Once again, if you're in this menu, all you have to click is this here, and that'll swap you between the menu, main menu for this section of the screen, and of course menu for each tool separately. So here's the waveform. You can have all of them. Obviously this is on and off. Now with the load LUT button, basically what it'll do is it'll show you the waveform pre-LUT and post-LUT. I don't have a LUT loaded right now, so you won't see a difference, but basically it'll show you the waveform if you're for your log image as well as the post-LUT version. And then of course you have your different layouts here, kind of a smaller setup here. If you see and I tap, kind of a little more screen room for your actual image. And you also have this one, which is basically very even 4-way cut. So you can see waveform here, operational, as well as your vector scope, which is super cool. All right, I'll turn that off. Next one down, you have the vector scope, which was on that screen also, but if you wanted one individually, again, this can be done with the LUT loaded, so pre or post LUT. You got your blending, so in 25% increments as far as the opacity on your screen. And then you also have the option of making it full screen with your main camera picture-in-picture, which is a pretty cool feature if you wanted to just get a good look at that, as well as different screen options of where to place the vector scope on your screen. Turn that off. Moving on to the next one, you got your Luma histogram. Again, pretty self-explanatory, just histogram, same settings as the vector scope, blending options, pre or post LUT, full screen, as well as the different locations on your screen. This is your RGB histogram. So again, similar thing. You can choose where to have it on your screen, full screen, pre or post LUT, as well as your blending options. And here you have your Luma waveform, same exact options, so I won't go into that. Turn that off. And then here you have your RGB waveform. Again, same exact options, so you already know the deal there. All right, so here's your audio meters. Now you should see some audio. As far as the meters go, you have your audio in different channels. So you can turn them on. There's only 2 channels. You can go all the way to 8 channels here. And then again, your blending options, you can swap left and right. And then where the audio meters show, I'd probably end up using it like this or at the bottom. This is a really cool feature to be able to turn this on and off. Again, all of these are programmable to your quick function button. So if you wanted to just have it on the screen for a second and flip it off, you can do so. All right, moving down to the HDR tab. Honestly, this is just HDR, HLG setting on or off. Honestly, not really needed unless you're shooting in HDR. And then this is your 3D LUT tab. It's just turning on your LUT here again, on or off. You can program it to the quick function button so you can quickly turn on and off your LUT if you want to see the log image. Okay, so now to the main functions of this mini screen here. When you see this little back arrow here, and that is under every setting, that will take you back to the main settings menu under this tool screen. So basically it'll show you your information here at the bottom of what you're in right now, which is SDI input. This is a 1080 monitor, so it's only displaying 1080 right now. Again, your before and after on the LUT as far as your settings. And then here you can quickly adjust your brightness on your monitor, as well as the fan control again. But this is probably the most important item here on this specific toolbar. When you click on that, you have access to every single option of the different tools that they offer on this operating system. The best way or easiest way basically is you select whichever item you want to replace and you just click on a new one, and then it will replace the new one with whichever item you want. There is, as you can see here, crosshair for center crosshair and options, time code display, obviously all the waveforms, audio meters that we've already gone over. There is a couple new ones that I want to test and show you guys how it works. So my most exciting ones here honestly are the rectangle crop. Click on this next one, image capture, I'm going to show you, as well as the image overlay. Guides I'll show you because that's super useful when shooting for vertical. And then your camera record button is cool. I'll leave that on there. Lastly, we'll do the picture by picture, which is probably one of the biggest features of this monitor I'm super excited about. All right, so without boring you guys to death too much, rectangle crop is pretty much what it sounds like. You basically have a rectangle that you can set anywhere on your screen to do a specific crop. Where is this useful? If you're using a Sony camera that has the menu all over the place, you can actually do a custom crop, right? So you see here the resize, and then here's your actual rectangle cropped area. You can adjust the start area and start position for the rectangle left to right, as well as the width and the height. Obviously at this 50/50, it'll be the correct 16:9 aspect ratio, but you can select pretty much anywhere in your screen where you'd like to crop. For example, let's say I want to crop on my buddy Zach here. Oh, going up. Great. And so now when I back up out of this, you'll see that the rectangle crop is engaged. Same, I can just press off, rectangle crop is off. Okay, coming down here, we have image capture. So as soon as you press it, it will take a screenshot of whatever image is on your display. So as you can see, it took roughly 4 to 5 seconds to actually take the image capture. Where does that go? Into the USB that I have loaded here on the side. So what the next button will do is your image display. As soon as you click it, you will get as many images as you have loaded onto this USB. I'm not sure if there's a limit. So far, I've been obviously testing a few different things. Here, let me swipe back, give you one that's very obvious. Put my hand here and I'll do image capture, boom. That instantly takes a screenshot of whatever image is on the screen. Okay, and again, you go here to image capture and it loads each one of the images that you've taken or saved. So all you gotta do is click on the capture and it will instantly load that in as an overlaid image. So once this loads, as you can see, you have my goofy hand all over the screen, and in essence, you can use this to rematch a shot that you have that you need to match exactly or as close to exactly as possible. If you swipe left to right, you can get more or less opacity on the screen. So if you wanted to see a little bit better on the image overlay versus what's on the background, and that's it. If you want to exit out, just hit the X button here. Okay, next one down of these is your guides. The guides are super cool because you can make a mask around your guide so it completely blacks out, or you can leave it open. If you're shooting, for example, and these are your options here, right? So it has 80-90%, 1:1, 16:9, which is full screen here. 9:16 though. This one is super useful for all of us that are shooting vertical content out of horizontal. Now you have basically a phone crop that you would use for like Instagram, TikTok, and obviously as you move around, you can get your framing. Again, you can change the color of the frame here out of any of these 4: white, red, green, blue, and then of course you can mask it if you're only shooting vertical but you're going to shoot it horizontal. As far as the camera is concerned, then you can mask it out and only see exactly what you'll be shooting. So again, that's guides. You can turn them on and off, and they have a ton of different ones. I mean, 15:9, 4:3, 1.5:1, 1.85:1, 2:1. So if you're shooting super widescreen, want to frame it that way, want to add the black bars for a cool YouTube effect, you can also guide it that way. And then of course you have a custom user option. Moving down, you have a camera record button. Once you're all programmed, it's just a quick record button. If you wanted to click it, it'll automatically start recording on the camera. Likewise, again, this is programmable to one of the top buttons. So if you wanted to do like say F1 as a record button, you can also program it that way. All right, so now at the bottom here, we have what I think personally is one of the coolest features on this camera, and that is picture by picture. So now I'm gonna load my other camera, which is the Pocket 6K. With HDMI, so I can show you exactly how picture by picture works and the features that it has. Okay, so HDMI cable is plugged in, same with the back of the monitor here to the HDMI inputs. There you go. All right, so now I have 2 inputs on this monitor that have a live feed once this camera is on. So once you're on this screen here, you have your audio out settings. So this will be which audio you're receiving from A or B for whichever side you're on. So right now it's off. So I'm gonna go ahead and turn it on. Okay, what you're gonna see is HDMI on one, SDI on the other. Tap on the screen to bring up the menu again. And basically this is which one you're affecting. So this is setting A or setting B. So right now, A is coming out of the HDMI. If I wanted to make sure A was my A camera, I'd click on SDI 1, and that's KOMODO, and then I'd go to B, and then hit HDMI, and that will load my Pocket into the second one. You could also rotate these images. So this will be a 90-degree rotation. And also you can mirror it either horizontal, vertical, or both as an option. And then you'll be able to go to the setting for A, and again do the same thing depending on which one. Likewise, also audio out could be set to whichever camera you choose. I'd probably just say to hear the audio or have the audio out from each camera. For A, you would probably just set the audio out to A if you have audio coming from your A cam. The other really cool feature on this is, depending on which one you have set here, A or B, when you click on this again, or in this case, this button here, you will get a cropped version of whichever setting you have. So of course, A or B. That's a very, very cool feature that you could have on the screen and basically be able to get a vertical crop for Reels, for example, and your horizontal at once. Now, likewise, there's also a second page to this menus. If you just click and swipe on the side, you'll be able to actually access a whole another page of menus, which is great because you can keep customizing. As you can see, there's a plus arrow there or plus button there, so you can actually click that and then you can load additional ones. Likewise, this trash can here, you can click it and it will delete whichever button it's currently on. Alright, so going up, I don't have anything plugged on as far as focus. If you swipe up from any of these menus, you'll be able to access the focus for your NUCLEUS M or Nano. Calibration you can do on here. You can do rack focus and select the amount of time. And then of course you can do different motors, focus, zoom, or iris. So you could have up to 3 motors paired here, and this is usually a scroll wheel to select where you're going to focus. Likewise, you have a camera record button, so you can send the record command to your camera if it's all wired that way. Alright, let me replug this situation back into my motor control. So it actually does go into the motor control even though it's not a motor. Boom, it's plugged in. So usually got to give it a sec. But basically, depending on which camera is plugged in, you have this red control. It seems to be for DSMC2, which you have access to your playback, which is super useful. I'm not sure if they're going to bring it to KOMODO. So far, there's not an option for KOMODO to get playback control. So if you click back on this box here, it is where you will switch to whichever camera you're looking to record. For Pocket 4K, for example, or 6K, what have you, you can do a Bluetooth connection and add the device to be able to control your Pocket remotely. Matter of fact, I do have my Pocket actually plugged in right now, or at least on. So it seems like it did find my Pocket here, the 6K. Oh, there it is. Bluetooth pairing request. Boom. So we'll have to enter the code on the back of my Pocket, which is 591740. There you go, pair. Great, so now I'm paired and I have wireless BLACKMAGIC control. Alright, so right now my Pocket is connected remotely, but obviously the input is showing a different camera. So if we come back to the main menu here, I'll be able to come again to the inputs, click on HDMI. Now you'll be able to see my Pocket here. And what I would do is come back to the controls and I'll be able to change the settings, what's available. You'll be able to go ahead and do focus controls, same with the zoom, same with iris. This is a manual lens, but that will be able to change. Obviously all these settings work remotely. This is all Bluetooth connected, which is super awesome and useful. So moving on from the Pocket, I'm going to move on from that. And then as you can see here, there's also connections to the original BLACKMAGIC Pocket cinema camera with LANC, same with Canon. Sony has a multi, same with LANC connection on the Sony. And of course Panasonic with the remote. So in my case, I would use the red EXT control for the KOMODO. So now I'm here in red control. This is through the wired connection here that I was provided by Portkeys. So you have all the options here for iris, shutter, etc., etc. The cool one here, I think, is if you click on autofocus, I can actually select on the screen where I'd like to autofocus, as you can see. So anywhere on the screen that I click, I'll be able to get focus. You can also adjust iris, ISO, shutter, frames per second, white balance, and even your settings of which format you would like to shoot. Alright, so the other nice feature on this monitor is wireless camera control. In this case, it also can control the KOMODO wireless. So all you'd have to do is go to the Wi-Fi/USB settings and then click on this little camera icon, and then you'll have your my device if you've already pre-connected your device before, and it'll be saved, or in my case I'll do add new device, and then it will search for devices including Komodo X, and then you'll have to input your password, which if you click on your ad hoc settings, you'll be able to set your passphrase to whatever you want. In my case, I will go ahead and punch in my password. So cool thing you'll notice is, number one, I am connected, in fact, via Wi-Fi. You can click on my device and be able to see that you're connected. Also, as you can see here, and you could see earlier, when the camera is wirelessly connected, you also get a battery reading there. So again, super useful and great attention to detail. Again, I can control pretty much everything I could control before, including touch to focus. But for now, I'll remove this cable from here. Since this can be ran wirelessly, that's just one less thing you have to have on your camera in order to control it. Last thing I want to talk about is how do you customize the F1 through 4 keys. Basically, these first 4 functions here across the main menu of the tool set on the left hand side is what each one will be configured to. So this will be F1, F2, F3, F4. In essence, if you go to the settings menu here, you'll basically click which tool is in the place of F1, F2, F3, or F4. In this case, this is F2, and I can select whichever one I'd like. So if I wanted to do picture by picture or camera record, let's do camera record in F2, and I'll do picture by picture in F3. And then I have guides on F4, right? So when I back out of here, I'll be able to still have peaking right here, which is number 1. When I click it, it'll be on and off. F2 will be camera record. So right now, as you can see by the red outline, and my Komodo is showing that the camera is indeed recording. I think that comes in super handy to have a physical record button on the actual monitor. F3, and I click that, and that will give me my picture by picture. As you can see, I'm still recording. I'll go ahead and click F2 again to stop camera record. You can do this from any menu while anything is accessed. So very, very, very cool. And then F3 again, that'll do, again, second option, which is rotation. It looks like this because I have my F1 on. Now it's off, and then click F3 again. And then of course I have my guides as F4. Alright guys, I hope you enjoyed this review. I know it was super lengthy, but I wanted to get into as many details as possible on this monitor so you can make an informed purchase decision. You can find this monitor now currently on B&H and Adorama, also the Portkeys website. Current street price for this monitor today in July of 23 is $899, which is no short order. However, competitors in this bracket are probably closer to $1,500 to $2,000, if you know what I'm talking about. It's also, again, super robust, super bright. Once you get used to how the menus operate, it's super intuitive. I love the wireless control. I love the fact that you can do wired control for a more reliable connection in pretty much every camera. Outside of that, if you have any questions, please leave them in the comments. I'll be happy to answer as much as I can. And I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, hit the share button. That's something that they never say, but definitely share this video with your other friends that like reviews of gear, etc. I'll be happy to do more. If you have any suggestions on what you'd like me to cover, I do own quite a bit of gear as I am a rental house here in Tampa, Florida. So if there's anything else on your mind that you'd like to see in video, I'd be happy to cover it. Till next time, out.